Yay.
I think it's live.
I will be able to find it. Me and my ex.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah, I just like to make sure okay, it's there. All right, everybody, welcome to our 2023 Preptober event. I'm so excited to see you all here, see you virtually. And for those of you who are local, just a quick little, I guess, announcement. We are going to have a couple of in-person events. We actually already have 2 solidified that will be at Winter Park Public Library. So be on the lookout for that. I can't remember the exact dates, but I think it's the first weekend of October and then the 3rd weekend. So
November 14th, I believe.
Yes. Or sorry, November. I need more coffee today. Yeah, but just be on the lookout for that. And then we have one that's going to be with Joybird Books as well. That one we're still working out, but be on the lookout for that. So today, I think we're trying to keep this fairly casual. The point of this session is to get writing and to plan our projects, to have something down on the page so that we can start nano strong and hopefully finish writing our novels for the month of November. Or if you have other plans, whatever those plans may be, hopefully you've achieved whatever goal it is you're trying to achieve for Nano. Although the rules of Nano, quote unquote rules, which really aren't rules, the goal of Nano is to finish the 50,000 words. We are always in the camp of telling writers, hey, just finish a project, or you can revise, or you can do poetry. We have people who write poems. We have people working on nonfiction. So whatever your goal is, it's always fun to just get into the spirit of Nano. And that's what I love most about it. So I think we'll go ahead and start with the first sprint then, right, Megan?
Yes, we can absolutely do that.
I'm gonna let you, sorry, what?
I was going to ask probably the answer that you were about to give me, which is, do you want me to be the one who shares my screen in order to present? And the answer to that, I imagine, is yeah. Okay. Yeah. Groovy. Okay, I can do that.
And then also, I think, are you okay with timing it, or do you want me to time it? Because
I can Canva has the timer right on there.
Perfect. Awesome.
We love Canva so much. Okay. Let's make sure that you all don't get to see the madness that is. Okay. No one look at how many tabs. All right. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. No judgment from me.
Don't worry about it. It's not your laptop. It's fine. Okay. So as you can see, we're gonna prep for 20 minutes, and then we will have a tip from either me or Racquel. It turns out, more tips than time. So we will also be giving you the slides so that you can see more of the tips. There are also links within the slides. Fun times for everybody to have. Will be available within the event. Yes, okay, good. See, it's all right on there. Okay, and we're gonna start. So if you haven't already, before we begin, we have a novel planner free for you. If you go to writersatelier.com/free-downloads, or if you've already signed up, you'll sign up for our newsletter and you'll get it in your inbox. If you've already signed up for your newsletter, it should be in your inbox. Just search for Writers Atelier, Racquel from Writers Atelier as the sender, and you'll find it in there. And then if you need any resources during your time that you're sprinting, we have our resources, our very cool resources link that has over 100 articles, videos, anything you might need during your time. Okay, so we're gonna start. It's under more. My people are in the way. Timer. Okay, and 20 minutes is on the timer.
So we'll do 20 minutes and then we'll take a 10-minute break just so everybody kind of gets how we're going to run these sessions.
Oh yeah, that's right. You can put music. We're going to put volume up. Okay.
Yay.
Okay. Time for our first session is up. Ooh. How did everybody do?
Not that. I didn't get that far.
Right. Oh, we see
Ooh.
we did some world building. Good. I'm writing by hand, so I can. It's. I got a quarter of a page, which is just fine by me. Exciting stuff, though. Okay. Yay. You delete, yeah, deleting counts. Creating and then deleting counts. Okay, we're gonna next slide. And our first tip comes from
Ooh.
Racquel. Racquel, I want to read your slide here. I'll put a timer on for our discussion time.
Sorry, just reading the chat. Okay, so this is actually one of my favorite tips, tracking your word count. I actually get pretty public about what I'm writing. I know there's some writers who don't like to, like the public pressure is almost, it doesn't work for them, but it works for me. Once I start sharing how much I'm writing every day, it kind of holds me accountable, I feel. Even though it's like 2 people might be like, oh, I'm following your writing journey. It feels like a level of accountability for me. So it's almost like I feel like I have to have something to say the next day if I'm posting the word counts consistently. But in general, tracking, yeah, accountability buddies, my beloved, absolutely, Jada. But yeah, in general, tracking the word count is actually better. So in our Write Gym program, I talk about this all the time. When you actually write down your goal, you're like 42, I think, percent, I think is the number, more likely to finish the goal. So it increases your chances of actually finishing when you actually like physically write something down. And so the same is true for tracking the word count. Also, there's something about seeing the numbers add up consistently that makes you not want to break the streak. So I just have like a very basic, I used to use a very basic calendar, and shameless plug for our Write Gym workbook. But in our workbook, we have a tracker, and I like the physical, actually like the physical action of writing things down. And it's like the most basic grid ever. And I just fill in the word counts every day. And I really like to see that sort of lined up. And then at the end of the month, it's cool because then you add everything up and it's like you're really writing these small sort of chunks of words. And by the end, it's you've got thousands, right? Big. So you can use the tracker on the Nano website. That's usually actually during Nano is where I update. I write it down, but I also update it there too. And a lot of times I'll take a screenshot of that and share it. You can also use Pacemaker. I have not used Pacemaker, but lots of writer friends swear by Pacemaker. Our beloved Candy Steiner, I think, uses Pacemaker. And then you can also use Write Track. I've not used this one either, but I've heard good things about it. You can just use a simple spreadsheet. I tend to not be a spreadsheet person, but some people love a good spreadsheet. Yeah. Megan?
We have a track your word count with multiple projects spreadsheet. Like if you're doing NaNoWriMo, okay, and one would assume you are if you're here. We have a spreadsheet that I made that helps you track your word count across multiple projects. So at the end, you don't have to like do extra funky math or like keep track some other way, you can just like plug your numbers into the spreadsheet and it will help. You can find like a walkthrough of it on our YouTube channel, and then you can also find it in the NaNoWriMo resources. It's in there somewhere. Yeah, I use but while I'm interrupting, I use For the Words to track my word count. There we go. That's my tip. Your turn.
For the Words is fantastic too. That's probably one I need to add to the list because I didn't discover that till last year. I think was it last year that you mentioned it?
Yes. Yeah, last year.
Yeah. Also, I'm just reading the comments here. It's totally fine if you don't have everything mapped out. That's what I'm doing too. It's a series, it's part of my series, so I'm trying to figure out what happens in the next couple books. I just have this kernel of an idea and I know who the characters are. That's about it. But I'm trying to be just a little bit more organized, I guess, and a little bit more forward thinking before I dive in for Nano. And then let's see what else is here. Yes, Kat says one of the things she misses from writing fan fiction is how people were excited about updates. It was the need for immediate gratification was a good motivator. I need beta readers for the same dopamine high. Yeah. That's why I love Nano. It's like the spirit, right? Everybody's working on this goal, this writing goal, and we're doing it together. It's like we're all in this together. So yeah, it's so much fun. Let's see. Ooh, one of the prep tasks was map out the climax. Meanwhile, I'm just referring to the main characters and MC. Yeah. I've been there too, where I don't have the name even for the character just yet. Actually, I just wrote the first name of the hero because I need to go back and look at what his last name was. I pulled my book off the shelf because I'm like, I can't remember what I said in this book. But yeah.
Listen, if all else fails, MC is a beautiful name. You can just use that. Mary Catherine, Michael, Caleb, there you go. It's an abbreviation.
Yes, for sure. Also, and then I didn't read the last way to track to, or like idea for tracking, which is just the regular old calendar, which works perfectly fine as well if you don't want to get too fancy. How is everybody else planning on tracking? That's what I would like to know. Ooh, I love Notion. I just recently started. I discovered Notion a while ago, but I only just recently felt like I could use it because there's a bit of a learning curve. But I do love Notion. I'm trying to get back to like seeing everybody and I can't. So hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Got it.
Yay. I love all the love for Notion. I'm using it now to hold basically my entire brain, but especially the part of my brain that works on like the various creative projects. I love the flexibility of it and the aesthetic too. And like that's not the most important thing, but man, is it important.
Also, I see Terry there said that she spent all day creating hers. How fun for you, because it's definitely a rabbit hole. And then also Terry told me about Living Writer recently, which is kind of, it sounds anyway, kind of like a little bit of a Scrivener mixed maybe with what's that other one where you can plot out your stuff?
Plotter?
Yeah, but except I think this one has templates and everything too, but I've never heard of it. However, I like how it looks because I'm very much an aesthetic person. And if it looks too complex, I can't wrap my brain around it sometimes. But this looks like very like clean, streamlined. you can write straight in it and export as a Word doc and all that. And so it's another one, I guess, is what I'm saying. Another tool that might resonate maybe with you, the way your brain works. But I think I want to try it out because I'm kind of just been really that old school writer that's like, no, just gonna use Microsoft Word. And that's just how I write all my things. I usually write everything, even all the ideas. Like I just have a regular old ideas doc and that's it. But Living Writer looks kind of cool too. So just for anybody who's looking for something, see what's happening in the chat.
Oh, I thought of another thing that tracks your progress.
Yeah.
Readsy, which is what I use to format my books, and also that's where I store like the draft that's going to get published. Which is yeah. They have like you can do a word count goal within their little system, and I plan to like do that for this as well, just to like, for funsies, just for more. Oh, we're counting down.
Oh, I've never heard of World Anvil. That's interesting. I'll have to explore that too.
I've seen that on the forums on the nano or
Yeah.
on all the forums. I still do all of my, I've been doing, I should finish the sentence, Megan. I need to do a lot of world building for a particular series that I need to go back to eventually. And I plan to investigate those. And when I do, you'll probably see a blog post on it, honestly. So my writing journey is your writing journey. Okay. So are we ready for another sprint here?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I love Canva. So I love having the thing here.
Me too. And I love how I did not know that about the timer until you told me. So I want to try to use it for other things now.
I was like, I know Canva is going to come in here. I know they know what they're doing. I know they know that I need this. And lo, they know I need it and they made it. Thank you. Okay. Ready, steady, Eddie, Freddy's. Ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1, prep. All right, that's the end of this prep session. Boop.
Is there a, when the timer goes off, is there a like sound? Oh, cool.
It does a little boop, boop, boop. It's very nice, very helpful for me because I'm like, oh, I need to
Yeah.
unmute now.
Yeah. I just wondered because obviously we cannot hear it, but I wondered like if I were to use it, if it would do that because I sometimes get wrapped up in whatever I'm doing.
Oh yeah, me too. I think you can even have it like while you're doing, like while you're editing. This is very off topic, but while you're editing the slides or
Yeah.
whatever you're working on. So if you're working on whatever it is,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I can only spend 30 minutes per slide, or I'm gonna, that's, anyway, I'll start the break timer and then you're up, Racquel, for the tip.
Oh, me again. Okay, let's talk about maximizing time. So this is really just reminders for when you're working on your projects and perhaps getting distracted like myself. I am also usually in a Hallmark zone because it's NaNoWriMo happens during my busy season, I like to say, which is Hallmark Christmas movie time. So sometimes I can get wrapped up and distracted with that. That's my personal weakness. But okay, Kat. But in order to maximize your time, try turning off your phone or silencing it during your writing sessions. Oops, I forgot the little bullet thing went to the second line there. But turn off your phones. I promise it will be okay. And if you don't feel comfortable turning it off, you can just simply silence it or even put it on vibrate, just so it's not ringing and sort of interrupting your flow when you're in a writing session. Limit TV time, my weakness personally, and also extracurriculars. So when I say extracurriculars, I mean, writing sometimes comes with a bit of sacrifice when you're trying to get a particular project done. And sometimes that means we cannot go hang out with Susie and Jane, let's call them, for dinner. Right? We can't meet up with our friends maybe to hang out and socialize and so forth. I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm just simply saying if you're pressed for time and you do need to figure out how you're going to write this novel next month, then perhaps you might have to say no to some things. And then also use a timer like we're doing now in these sessions. We do quite a few virtual writing sessions throughout the month of November. And that's how we run all of our sessions, is with timers. We set the timer, we write for a certain amount of time, we take breaks, and then we keep repeating that process. And the timers help a lot because it allows you that sort of like, okay, I've got to focus for this amount of time, got to get the words down. You can even do sprints, which I have on a different tip, but you can do sprints during your timed sessions. Sprints, I guess I should not say sprints. What I mean more so is word wars. So like if you're with a buddy, you can kind of go back and forth with a word war. Whoever gets the highest amount gets bragging rights. And then you can also use the Pomodoro technique, which is a specific amount of time for your sprint. I think it's 20 minutes. I don't know the exact number, but if you just, yeah, Megan.
Oh, of course I know.
Yeah.
It's, I believe, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and then your fourth break is, I think, 20 minutes long.
Okay. Yeah. If you just put into Google Pomodoro, I think most people are familiar with it, but if you just type it into Google, it'll tell you exactly like what their specific structure is. So theirs is a specific number that you're taking, like Megan said, 25 minutes and then specific time for the break and so forth. And then do not edit, please. again, I don't like to speak in absolutes, because I know there are a few writers who have told me that like they have to edit a little bit before they move forward. And I'll say, fine, if you know for a fact that that works for you, okay. But typically it isn't a good idea, because we, as writers, right, we get kind of caught up on the editing and then we don't move forward. So my general rule of thumb, or like general advice, is usually write the draft as best as you can. Just get through the draft, get the words down on the page, and then you can go back and edit, because editing is a separate process. Like I said, I don't like to speak in absolutes, but it's helpful to think of it that way. Unless you know for sure that you're just not that type of writer. Because like I said, there's a handful of people I think that can do it that way. But for the most part, I think editing is a separate process. So try not to focus on that, because that's actually not the point of Nano. The point is to get the words on the page. You can go back and edit later. Okay, those are the tips for like maximizing your time. And again, like if you're crunched, if you're pressed for time, you don't want to waste time kind of trying to like get through the edits, because again, you're not going to get your word count for the day. So yeah. How does everybody feel about that? Anybody ever
Racquel already knows. We discussed this morning about my edit as I write, not because I'm like editing it completely, but because I write things in scenes as they pop up to me creatively. And so it's like writing those transitional bridges between the scenes that I pre-wrote is where my editing goes. But it's not like a full like line item type situation, but it's just enough to make it make sense, merging them together.
Are you not in edits now, Kat?
Hybrid, because I still have like half of the thing that's not done. So it's like I've got almost like a pivotal scene in every chapter, but now I have to like, how do we get to those? So it's like 0.5 of a full draft.
Gotcha. Sorry, Megan, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah. Have you heard of / do you like Diana Gabaldon and or Outlander? Yeah.
I have not been able to get into Outlander. So
that's fine.
It's okay. I know several people who do. I tried really hard, but I fell asleep watching the show many times.
That's okay. With the thing that like sets off the bells for me is that Diana Gabaldon, who is the author and who like very revered, blah blah blah, and like a nice person too, from what I hear. She writes like you. She has like scenes that she writes, and then she's got to connect them later. And she has a blog, I think, on her writing experience, on like how she writes stuff. And so I was like, oh, maybe you would find that helpful, or at least like validating, like, oh, I too, you do it this way.
I think one of the most validating writers is Neil Gaiman, who can write a highly successful novel and 30 years later say, I'm going to rewrite this for the 30th anniversary and add in like 10 more chapters. And I'm like, what a king.
I love what Naila said in the chat, which is, edits are none of my business. Future me. The concept of like past me setting myself up for present me, and then present me not like caring so much about, at least in terms of like the writing session, like past me setting things up. Like I have snacks here, like because past me knows, oh, she's gonna need snacks during this, and then the other things that need doing, I've got on sticky notes as they come up, so future me can handle those later. I love the three Megans working together.
Same. Also, I think my memory these days is all muddled, but I think I might have a tip on boundaries, but Naila commented that I told people I'm not socializing in November. That is always me. My family knows, do not talk to me. In November, do not talk to me. Because I am working on NaNoWriMo. It's the one time that I am beyond selfish, and I admit it, about my writing, like unapologetically selfish. November, do not talk to me. And in general, I'm like, I'm half joking, but I also, it's like it's Hallmark Christmas season. And I always tell people, like, lose my number during this time. Because I am watching Christmas movies also. So let's see what else is in here. Especially, yeah, coming up at December holidays, exactly. It's social overload. Hit me up and then bring a candy cane. Yeah. I love that.
You're nicer than me. If it's not chocolate covered, you don't get entry. Sorry. You can bring me coffee and chocolate, and those are your two options for seeing me at any point in time past October 31st. Also before all the other months before, also, that's probably the good barrier to entry. I'm a simple woman with simple needs. Oh, wedding anniversary. Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
It's also our birthdays in November, so we have both mine and Racquel. So there's always,
and it's my mom's. My mom's birthday is the same day as mine. So I usually am taking a break on the 22nd. And then of course there's Thanksgiving if you celebrate that. So
wait, another 20-minute session. Get your stretches out, get ready, get set, hitting the good. Yes. Oh, all together. Okay. Now go. We're done with this session. Yay. Boop. That was good. I got distracted there towards the end because my parents, who are in DC right now for a little vacation, are sending me pictures of truly they know their daughter, shiny rocks. That's what they're sending me pictures of in a museum, shiny rocks. And so I'm like, I love the rocks. Give me more. It's very nice.
Oh, that's so cute.
They know what kind of nerd their daughter is through and through. Last year for my birthday / Christmas / holiday, they got me a rock tumbler, like one for kids, but it's so cool.
Oh, my sister used to be very much into rocks. I don't know if
Who isn't?
huh?
I said, who isn't? Look at these. They're so cool.
And
Shiny. Oh, you are actually see it's a rose quartz, but
we used to go to that rock store. I don't know if you're familiar with, there's a place in Old Town.
I purposely avoid those, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. How come you avoid them?
Is what I don't have money. I would have very much less money were I to go.
Yeah. They're fun though. Those, I love that. I love that particular store too. It even reminds me of my childhood because we'd go in there and like our parents will let us pick out rocks and you fill the little bag, those cute little, it has like the little string, That was always so much fun. All right, well, we shall talk a little bit here about sort of preparing your life for NaNoWriMo. And I mentioned this in the last little session here. Do you want to start that timer, Megan?
Yes. Got distracted by the rocks. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mentioned in that last little session that we had that we have to sometimes say no to like hanging out with friends. This timer isn't moving. Is it me or?
I didn't press enter.
Okay, I was just checking. Otherwise, we would be here for a very long 10 minutes. Yeah, but anyway, I was saying in the last session I mentioned sometimes we have to say no to things like hanging out with our friends, sadly, or socializing in general. Sometimes even maybe hanging out with family, which is not actually my favorite thing to do because I'm very close to my family. But again, it's a sacrifice that I make to finish Nano. Anyhow, this starts with setting a boundary. You probably heard that term before. And I always it started when I started doing Nano, it just started with me saying, hey, I'm doing this thing for National Novel Writing Month. It's in November. I'm not going to be as available. Just as simple as that. And then it turned into like a running, it's a little small joke in my family, like a running thing, oh, don't talk to Racquel, during November. It's like we're serious, but we're also joking about it at the same time. But yeah, it turned into this whole thing like, oh, she's writing a novel this month. We also don't really plan any major things during the month of November besides my birthday, which is also my mom's birthday. But I sort of understand that ahead of time. And I sometimes even will try to write ahead of schedule so that I could accommodate for that. But anyhow, that boundary is there for my family. For friends, same concept. All of my friends know that I'm doing NaNoWriMo. A lot of my friends happen to be writers and they are also doing NaNoWriMo. So that's often helpful. And I often don't have to set a boundary with them because they are already in the thick of it themselves. So, but it just really just takes telling people and letting them know ahead of time that, hey, don't be offended. I'm doing this thing. Most people are pretty understanding. And the second thing I have there is just say no, right? You probably will still get invitations. You're probably still going to get people trying to do things with you and ask you for things even. And just say no. I've had this happen in a different way, like with work related things, like well, other work related things, as in, you know, my part of my job is to help writers, and I'm also an editor. Sometimes I will have a client pop up and say, during November, I need this thing. And I am like, I cannot help you during this month. I've learned my lesson on that because I've taken things and I was like very overwhelmed. And I just don't do that anymore. That's a personal boundary that I've set. Again, I don't really take on any work during that month because I'm very selfish and I have to work on my own project. Also try thinking ahead. I mentioned just now about, you know, I know my birthday is this month. For some people, they're celebrating Thanksgiving. If you know that you have holidays or birthdays or major family events, then you can work that into your schedule. You just plan ahead for it. Write ahead. Maybe one day, if you're able to sit down and double the word count, then that means you have a whole day, right, that you can sort of have in your reserve. If there's a day that comes up that you're not gonna be able to write. You can also, you don't always have to like double the word count. You can kind of just write a little more every day, and so then you still have this sort of built up word count that you can use for emergency purposes, or, you know, anything else again that pops up. So yeah, prepare
If
your
you
life.
have,
No, go ahead.
I keep thinking you're pausing and I'm like, oh, if you have, like, if you're using Pacemaker or Readsy's word count thing, or anything that is tracking a goal to completion, or even the Nano site does this actually. If you, it will tell you how many words per day you need to hit the goal. So if you fall behind, it will tell you automatically, like, oh, if you, as long as you, you know, rise from writing 1,667 words to like maybe 1,800 or 1,000, you know, one like 1,900, like you will still hit your goal. So don't worry about doing math.
Yes, for sure. Also, Amy says it's her anniversary in November too. That's lovely, and also happy early anniversary. Kat says she loses sleep and she wakes up early because there are things she can't sacrifice as a mom. Exactly. That's another thing too, right? It's sometimes there are going to be things that, yeah, they have to get done. So it might mean losing a little bit of sleep. Not that I really recommend that, but it's I think for each individual, you have to assess what your comfort level is without like killing yourself, right? And for this month, I think, you know, if you're a little bit sleep deprived, you know, like you can always sleep in December, right? But for some people, you know, sleep might be something that's really important to them as well. So they might have to find the time in little pockets elsewhere. So I think the goal here is really to just, again, be thinking ahead and figuring out in your schedule where you could kind of fit in the time to write. And sometimes it's not going to be a chunk of time. You might have to write in sections, at various sections during your day. I actually personally like to break the word count up like that, because for the way my brain works, saying 1,667 words sounds like a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm like 500 here, 500 there, 500, you know, throughout the day. And that kind of helps me feel like it's not as like daunting. Plus, I don't know why. It's just like I can, if I say, oh, I'm only sitting for 500 words, I can be more focused almost that way, as opposed to me like 1,667 words and I'm just sitting there like, how am I gonna write 16? So yeah, I think it's just a matter of looking at your own schedule and figuring out what you're comfortable with, and then where you can fit in the writing time, and where you need to set the boundary too. So yeah, but I love that we're all thinking ahead of what we're gonna do, how we're gonna do this. I also think maybe this is true for some of you too, but I think like doing more NaNoWriMos helps you learn, right? As you go, it's almost like you're learning how to better equip yourself with each one, and it's almost, if you've never won it and you've done a few, you get kind of closer every time because you're sort of figuring things out until I think eventually you will absolutely finish it. But just this is a good reminder, a good time to remind everybody that even if you don't finish and you still get words down on the page, that is a heck of a lot better than zero, right? And you're further than you were. So that's what I love too about Nano. It still moves the needle. So yeah. How did everybody do that last session? I feel like maybe we could, since we have like a minute here, we could probably just quickly say how it's going. Hopefully it's going well for you all. I'm slow, but I feel like I'm figuring some things out. So
I'm feeling the same, slow, but figuring things out. I'm not, what I'm doing right now is creating like motivation conflict resolution for each of my chapters. So because one problem I have is like, and a thing, if you can take notes about your experience, this is not a real tip, but like if you can take notes about your experience too, because one of the things that I learned is I'll write things that I did not originally intend to write because my brain will see a blank and fill it without my permission. If I don't have my notes in front of me or if I don't have a real solid plan. So I'm trying to make that real solid plan now for each chapter so I can be like, no, we're doing this. Do not insert something new into this scene that we didn't say. Do not change how this scene's supposed to go.
Yeah, I did that. So I have like my master outline, but then I like started copying, pasting like at the top of that outline into at the top of my chapter. So instead of having to go to a second document, I just scroll up. I'm like, okay. And then I don't delete it. I just put a strike through as like, I did this part, I did this part, I did this part. And then I just work my way through.
Ooh, I love that. Nice.
I use a comment in the top of the thing. So I feel you. I feel that. Okay. I didn't want that to interrupt you. So like, oh, too late. You're done talking. No.
Also, yay for
chat.
400 words, no edits, lots of banter. Love to hear that. Naila says, worked on the scene list. That's good. And then Terry is reading and taking notes from a book about writing nonfiction and wants to do that before Nano. Yes, because I believe Terry is going to be working on nonfiction. So awesome. Ooh. I think we're having a productive session.
I know, this is going so well. I'm so happy for us.
Yeah.
All right. Another session. We are, by the way, we're at like, for time's sake and orienting yourself in the here and now. Well, it's about 2 p.m. So we're about halfway through our whole 4 hours. So we're going to start the next session. I will remember to hit enter. Ready? Ready. Go. You have to start the timer.
Bye, Naila.
Thank
you for coming. Hope to see you at some more events later on.
that sprint is over. Or that prep session, I guess, is over. Whew. Big stretch. Hello.
Whoops. Okay, let's turn off my music. So if you heard Adele. Hopefully everybody had a good session. I didn't get a whole lot done because I ended up taking a break. Tried to make it brief, but you know. How many more tips do I have?
This is your last tip, and then I do all of the ones after this.
Okay, so this is my last.
The rest are mine.
Yeah, I'm also saying it too because I was like, oh, I couldn't remember how many I put in there, but anyhow, whether it was 4 or 5.
Sure, that's
yeah. No, because I was gonna say this is my last tip, but then I was like, is it my last tip? Anyhow, my brain is very complicated. So this is my last tip, and technically they are tips for getting unstuck. So if you're writing for NaNoWriMo, it's probably going to happen to you that you have these moments of feeling like you can't write. Part of that, I think, is because you're writing so many words during the month. Sometimes it can feel like it's squeezing you in a way, and you've written so many words that you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to write next. And there is a little bit of pressure for me personally. I feel like that there's a little bit of pressure that comes from like having to write these certain amount of words per day. And like whether you can do that again the next day. So some ideas here for helping you move forward, writing out of order. Personally, I have this on here for other people. It doesn't work for me. I already know that. Just my brain is very linear, and it's like it must. I have got to follow this line, and it doesn't work for me personally, but I know a lot of writers who it works for. Attend free write-ins because it forces you to put your butt in the chair. Because we as writers, we get wrapped up in these moments where we're like, yeah, I'll get to that. I'll get to it. I know I have to write these words for today, but I'll get to it. And we sort of keep putting it off. But if you attend the write-ins, it sort of feels like something on your calendar, right? It feels like you have to be somewhere and show up somewhere. So attending the free write-ins helps. Also, sometimes things get talked through. Sometimes somebody might even say something on a write-in that triggers something in your brain and helps you move forward. So attending the free write-ins, trying to write each day, and by that, I don't necessarily mean you must hit the target word count every day, but if you keep putting words on the page, then it helps you to not be so far behind. Because when you skip a day totally during Nano, it's really, it becomes hard to catch up, right? And if you're like me, where you're seeing the regular word count in that large chunk, right? 1667, when you're seeing that, and then you're like a day behind, now you have to try to catch up with that. It becomes a bit difficult to get back on the horse. It's possible, of course, but it's a little bit harder. So anything you can do to kind of not make that gap get bigger. And I always suggest like trying to even if you're like, I can't write much today, but you can put down like 100 words, 200 words, just put something down so that it's not as big of a gap. And then if you do get behind, you can always, again, the big numbers get to my brain. So if you end up getting behind a day, what you can do is like, okay, you have to write 1667 words for the next day. Maybe try just adding on a couple hundred. Oh, it's doing the Zoom thing where I just raise my hand.
I think it's like,
yeah, it's doing that thing. It's like, oh, let me lower my hand. Okay, there. Yeah, so sometimes you can just like add a small amount on to each day to catch up. So but try to write something every day. I always say. You can use placeholders too. You don't have to figure everything out all the time, right? You can always come back to something. That helps me a little bit. I don't really, it's not my first choice to do because I'm that person that needs to figure it out, but also it has helped me kind of move on before, like in past nanos. So you might try that. Prep a vision, a list or vision board of your ideas. So one thing that helps me is always having like kind of a Pinterest board of all like images that remind me of my story. So I'll go back and look at that throughout sometimes when I get stuck. Also a list, what I mean by list is, sorry, I got distracted for a second. What I mean by list too is, if you can brainstorm just a list of random things that, or not random things, but things that have to do with your story. So just to give you an example, I like to write Christmas stories usually. And so one year what I did was I had a list of just like fun Christmas type things like ugly sweater or ugly sweater party. And so I would go back to that list, candy canes, whatever it is. And sometimes I would pull something off of that list and create a scene around it. And that helped me move forward. Participating in the sprints and the word wars, like we talked about, helps you get unstuck, because if you're competing with your friend and trying to get the higher word count, you don't have time to sit there and think about like think too hard. So that can sometimes help. And then phoning a friend, which basically just means like calling up a friend or even getting on a Zoom with a friend and just kind of talking through your idea sometimes helps. That has helped me untangle things in the past. And I honestly need my writer friends. And they also help support you too, because they know what you're going through. So they kind of help you keep going. So yeah, that was my last little batch of tips there. If anybody has any tips for getting unstuck too that they want to share, feel free. So
I want to say also that we'll be posting in the online community, which if you are here, you found it. We'll be posting little little things that you can comment under if you want to like ask questions, or if you're stuck or need something like that. So we'll be, the online community is going to be nice and active during Nano. I've already uploaded those, and I will be adding more. I've scheduled them, so you will be covered in that sense.
Also, while I have you all here, if you don't mind, and you can like comment this throughout the rest of the session. I think this is a really good opportunity to ask this question, so bear with me. We have a workshop we're working with an instructor on, and they asked what are some of the struggles that writers have so that they can kind of pick a good topic that will serve the community. So if you are comfortable sharing that would be great, and that would be a good help to us. You can put it in the chat. You can message either me or Megan privately, or even if you want to email us separately from this, that would be very helpful to us. But just if you have any like writing struggles, like what do you struggle with as a writer from a crafts perspective, or even from like a writing life perspective, that'd be helpful. So, oh, Cat got another 500. Yay. That's awesome.
That's so exciting.
Yes.
Cat says physical activity is also what physical activity is also what I use when I'm stuck, whether it's going to the gym. That's one of my, yes, physical, like taking walks. I'll talk about this one later, but like, I love me a walk, a hot girl walk, as Doc has forced me to call it now. It's only right, I am a hot
girl. I love it.
So I like self-aggrandizing humor. If you're new to me.
I love that though. Physical activity is great. Yep.
Our brains need oxygen.
For sure.
And we can't get oxygen only sitting at a desk.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even just like the change in the scene, in what you are seeing and the movement, like does something so great. I don't know if you can tell based on the lighting and when I move like this, but I'm in front of a window, and even just like looking up and being like, ooh, leaves swaying, like not staring at a white screen. Who'd have thunk? A little more engaging to the brain. Shocker. Yay.
So true.
I love the little celebratory noise. It's like I did something that whole time. Boop. Okay. Oh, Naila posted her vlog. I'm gonna add it to our story.
Oh, yay.
So happy to have, oh, I can do that while we're doing things, can't I? Okay, so we'll start another 20-minute sprint, and then after this, you're all mine, baby. It's all my tips. Prepare yourselves. If you leave now, I'll only cry a little bit. Okay, everyone ready? Ready, set, ready, go. that session is over. How did everybody do?
I was distracted.
No, Racquel set a good example.
It was in my defense. I have a book coming out. It was about my book cover.
Okay, all right, that's acceptable. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But during one of our sprints, I spent over half of it on the Stardew Valley wiki. So I guess we're all allowed a little bit of a distraction now and again.
Yeah.
That's my weakness. I love Stardew Valley.
Ooh,
Okay.
Nancy's researching, which is so much fun.
Oh, researching. That's so good. Research. That's one of those parts where I can get real. I can go, I either am not interested in at all in researching what I'm looking at, or I will obsess over it for days.
She says
very
she goes,
on off.
I was going to say, she says she goes way down rabbit holes.
Wrapped up the chapter. Kat says she wrapped up the chapter and opened up the next round to start. Yay! Exciting. Okay. All right. I got a nano tip. It's kind of 2 tips, but don't tell anybody. It's the tip I have here, okay, is to gamify and to romanticize your writing sessions. And yes, that novel pun, you can tell is italicized, was in fact intended that pun. So what do I mean by this? To gamify is to like turn, what it sounds like, it's to turn the process into a game. I do this by using For the Words to write. I need that dopamine hit. For the Words, and if you're not familiar, is a site where you can you battle little word count monsters. For example, there's one that's like 50 words in 5 minutes, and you try to write the 50 words within the 5 minutes. And if you get it, you won the battle and you get some loot from the battle. That's one way to do it. I've seen other people, eat 1 M&M for every 100 words you write, or 250 words you write. That's a lot of M&Ms, I know.
That.
Probably a service. Yeah, there you go. Making a little, finding it's hard to really specify because it's so different for other people, but something that gets you like excited and like, oh, I did it. Or like, adding a shiny rock to your collection of shiny rocks, any way you can to gamify it. And then the other half of this tip is to romanticize the writing thing. I just did a motivational minute on this, and actually these underlined things are actually, when you get the slides, you'll see it. They're links to their respective blog posts / motivational minutes about that tip. So by romanticize, I mean like make your writing session feel special. So the other day, recently actually, my car decided it didn't really want to go in the forward direction in a smooth way. So I'm kind of more or less without a car right now, but I have my partner drives me around. So one of the things that I did, I think it was yesterday, and that I'm definitely going to keep up with, is I walked to a really small local cafe that's just like 20 minutes, which might sound like a pretty far thing to walk, but it's like a beautiful walk in a really nice neighborhood. I took pictures for content later. And that time felt very special to me. And that was part of the romanticizing. I got to think about my project as I was walking. And then once I got there, I got like a special little latte, and it had like a little latte art on it that was super cute. And like I had like my little moment. I felt like a little writer in the little coffee shop. And you don't need to go outside to do this. God knows that I find ways to be inside as often as I can. Just anything that you can do to make the day feel special. I have another blog post that's like putting on a writing uniform, which is like, dressing up in some small way. Like I have a small yet growing obsession with like tinted lip balms and lipsticks. So if I know I'm going to be, especially if I know I'm making content, I will put on like a swipe of lip balm or something to make that special, and also because I look like a corpse if I don't do something with my lip color, because I'm a dark winner and we need the contrast so to show up. So yeah, that's my tip. It's to gamify and romanticize your writing sessions any way you can. Was that unclear? I see we have a lot of things in the chat, which I'm going to read. Oh, love that, Megan. Yay, thank you. Oh, that was such a nice thing to open up to. One of those days where you're writing today, Kat. Yay.
Did you see Amy's comment?
Yeah, because okay, Amy's comment, how Pavlovian. Oh, absolutely. Okay, okay, it's okay. Another thing. Okay.
I was talking about the M&Ms. The M&Ms are like how Pavlovian.
Oh yes, yeah. The thing about this, okay, is that you cannot approach this like, oh, this is for children or whatever, or you can't approach like the little special things that you do, like I shouldn't need to do this. Real writers don't do this. Yes, real writers do. Yes, real writers do, first of all. But even if real writers didn't, who cares? This is for you. This is for you to make special words appear on the page. And even though writing is wonderful and beautiful, it's also the worst in a lot of ways because you have to be there with your brain the whole time engaged. And any way you can to like make it all feel special and cool for you, take it and you have a name for it.
I'm a giant child and I don't care.
Yes. You wear your fuzzy socks and you watch your Christmas movies with the little smooches. That's what you do. And that you embrace that. I have like 80,000 ways that my little brain goes vroom, and I will use all 80 of those ways at any given time. Because Megan introduced it last year, Amy says, I have been using For the Words for almost a year now, even if I'm just brainstorming sometimes. My favorite thing to do, and that's going to come later, is like to not be like ashamed or not count the words that are you thinking things through and brainstorming. That's like a For the Words tip, but it's also like a general tip, like, those are important words too. You need to think in order for the words to come. And sometimes like the thinking, I have a little post-it note right here. That's just me, like before I write down, I already said I'm doing like the motivation, the conflict, and the resolution for every chapter. Before I actually write it down, I do a quick like double check, like, do I actually mean what I'm about to say? Yes. Okay. I'm going to write that now because I hate making writing mistakes and I love to write in pen. That's the... Okay, Kat's restarting because Zoom is weird. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I don't know if you've picked up on this, but I will talk fast and maybe lose my train of thought sometimes. So have I made myself clear? Is one way to ask that, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyone have... Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea, like the walking, the kind of a long walk, and it's like you get to think about your writing and your characters and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Did I cut someone off?
No, that was me chattering to keep up with just talking to myself. Oh, I have an image here to download. I don't care about the potential security issue. I know, trust me when I know there's no security issue.
So one of the things that I kind of do to romanticize my writing session is that we have so many beautiful hotel lobbies in Orlando, and I like to sneak away and be anonymous in these beautiful spaces with free Wi-Fi and cafes and wine and everything. And I don't really have to go anywhere, and it's all pretty. And a lot of them have like beautiful library settings. So this is one. I have many hotel lobby photos of where I write. So yeah, it's
a great
nice
idea.
Mm-hmm.
You do this without staying at the hotel, right?
Yeah, I don't stay at the hotel. So sometimes some places they'll charge you for parking, but there are a lot in Orlando that don't require parking, or they'll like give you a validation if you eat a lunch there. So that's kind of how I play it. So even if I get like a lunch, I have a treat yourself day for a nice lunch at a fancy hotel with great views, and I'll just park it for like hours and work. So
that is such a genius idea, Kat.
Yeah. So my daughter's at an anime convention here in Jacksonville, just down the way. And I got really excited that Preptober was happening, and I have something to do while she's at the anime convention with her friend. And I can just like write. And like, I get the natural light, but then I also have snacks, and I also have like, and I'm cozy, and I've got power and Wi-Fi.
Genius. I've done something similar with Disney Spring. We're in Orlando, Writers Atelier is. so I've done something similar with Disney Springs where I park, and the parking at Disney Springs is free, and they also have free transportation to some of the hotels around. So I've definitely like ridden the transportation there and like written in beautiful, I mean, they're Disney, so they're always a little bit kitschy, but like really like well decorated spaces that are unique. I've gone to certain hotels because they fit the theme of what I'm writing at that time. It's really utilizing those spaces that people don't really think of, but are still like liminal spaces like that is great for writing. Actually, and also that picture you sent is beautiful. Will you either A, post it and tag us, or B, can we post it onto our things?
I will post it and tag you because I also want to go ahead and just like, also get some lookies.
Yes, good.
Yes. So I will do that in our next session. So yeah, but there was also the Riverside. I've heard really good things. The Riviera, the new one. They have like an actual library there, so that's one that I've been wanting to scope out.
Ooh.
Yeah,
That sounds so much fun.
It's very fun. The Nano Orlando does right around the Disney World every year, and I always try to go because it's people, yes, but it's also like so like I am a writer and I am going to these different places. It's very, very cool. Okay, that's the end of that tip. Woo. All right, now we're gonna move on to our next session. Oh, yeah, no, that's good. Okay. One more or another. I don't know why I want to keep saying one more. It ain't one more. It's until we're at 4. Gosh darn it. Okay, ready? Steady Eddie Freddy. Go. All right, that's the end of that session. Woo! How did everybody do? Because okay. I accidentally moved us forward on accident. Okay.
I got nothing done because I went to go eat.
Oh no. That's stinks. I've gotten actually like I think more than I don't know where I was last time, but I feel like I got like pretty far along. I've gotten up to like chapter 7 of the motivation and conflict resolution. And like this was a good idea, which kind of leads into my tip. Is I've got this links to 4 steps to a can't miss character arc. But my tip for you is to know your character's beginning state, like what's their mindset going into this story, and why they became why they are in that beginning state, how they will end the book, their ending state, and then what is the thing that makes them change in the middle of the story, like their midpoint. So other like vocabulary words that are used for this are like your wound, your misbelief, your like the midpoint or the change that happens, the meeting of the goddess, and your like epiphany, or not epiphany, the happily ever after state that you're going to be in. That's if you have a positive change arc. And the reason that I recommend knowing this, even if you're a pantser, Racquel, even if you're a pantser, knowing the journey that your character is going to go on gives you a guiding light for this story. There are definitely discovery writers like Racquel, who,
And Melanie
I don't know if
Harlow.
and Melanie Harlow, okay, and Melanie Harlow, who write into the dark. They, they understand what they want. They what they want in the moment, and that kind of guides them. That takes a very strong sense of, in my opinion anyway, it takes a very strong sense of how structure works, like an innate knowledge of structure in order to pull that off. I don't like to rely on that as a person. I like to have at the very least, even for my shortest stories, and definitely for the longer stories, particularly ones that have multiple characters or that have a single character going through multiple arcs or changes. For me personally, I think having that, knowing your character's endgame, is very valuable, particularly when like we gotta get these 50,000 words done. And I have before written my way into a shorter story than intended, probably because I didn't understand how quickly I was getting to the end. I've got something in the chat. Kat says, not much this session. Husband called, had to skim 2 chapters that I think will need more focus for editing. So I just started for another chapter that isn't so fleshed out. Yeah. Oh, the partners, the significant others call at the precise moment that you're like, wait a minute, I need the focus. They've got an innate sense. My partner does that like pretty well. Actually, they'll interrupt me as frequently as I will let them. They want attention. I actually should open the door anyway. So yeah, does anyone, I know that's kind of a controversial tip with the whole like knowing things. I'm not saying you need to outline your story necessarily. I'm just saying that having that is very valuable. Okay. Does anyone want to debate me on that? No.
I do think
Wise. What?
I think it is very beneficial, but I also think sometimes depending on it depends on where you're at in your like writing journey, because there's some folks who just want to write a novel because they've been intimidated by it. I'm saying this because I'm the person that was me when I did my first Nano. I had no idea what I was doing and was really like scared of it. I don't know why. I was afraid of writing a novel. And it's because mainly I wrote short fiction, even like all through school and stuff. Like the focus was on short fiction until I felt very intimidated by the novel. And it helped to just not even think of anything and just write, just get it down. I didn't have anything. I had just a loose idea of what I wanted to write. And I've done a nano too and won it without actually even knowing anything ahead of time. Like day of, I just said, here we go. And I'm not saying I recommend that. I'm just saying it's okay if maybe you want to try to write something and maybe don't have it all together. But now that I use Nano to write projects that are due somewhere. So agreed that it definitely helps to have those like nuts and bolts ahead of time so you're not flailing. So
yeah, definitely this isn't for everybody, but this is if you're like the type of writer who, like me, I cannot discovery write because I will my brain is soup. That's not a good idea. So, this is definitely for me. You will note that in a lot of tips. I'm bored with this tip. We're moving on to the other one. Another tip. I control the PowerPoint, so I get to make the rules. I'm going to give like another tip because that one was feeling, we've still got 4 minutes left. So, and this one also touches on something that Racquel said. So you don't have to write all 1,667 words in a session. I sure as heck don't. The job that I have, like the day job that I have, I'm not allowed to have my devices out, but I am allowed to write by hand. So usually what Nano looks like for me is on the days that I work is I will write some before work and then I will at work hand write. And then it used to be while I'm driving, but while I'm being driven home or right when I get home, I will dictate the words that I just wrote just to get them down on the counters faster for the words faster on the Nano site faster. And this is very helpful. I can get about like 500 to 800 words by hand during my work time. And then I know that, before work, all I have to do is get that first 800, 900 down. And that's much easier. I might break that up even further with like, during my morning coffee and then during my afternoon coffee, that kind of deal. It's definitely like an experimenting thing that you got to do. And you also have to work within like, I know that that sitting still for a long time can be difficult for me. And I also know that sometimes, no, it's not. Sometimes I cannot move until I am done, until I've burned myself out for the day. So it definitely takes knowing yourself. So does anyone have any ideas about how they get in the flow state or out of the flow state? Because that can sometimes make or break a writing session, whether you feel like you're in the book or not. Anybody got any tips? We'll talk otherwise. So you better save yourself by mentioning something.
Sometimes it's the words just come faster, I guess, than others. Some scenes like maybe it's the scene. Some scenes are just easier maybe to write. Not that writing is easy overall, but some scenes just feel like you're getting into the flow more. But I'm the same way. I got to break it up. It helps to break it up. It's not that I've never written in a session, right? The 1667 words. It helps for me to break it up because of feels just daunting to say 1,667 words.
Oh yeah.
Even now I'm struggling, I'm like, I should be writing 2,000 words a day, but also that feels daunting. Yeah.
The big monsters on For the Words that are 2,000 words, I'm like, I will never tackle that. We're doing like 10, I might do 10, 20 of the little 50-word fireflies in a row, and that's how I get the words, but I need the short numbers. That makes me feel good. Kat says, creating playlists that feel like soundtracks. You're getting ahead of me here. That may or may not be a tip later, but definitely, I have made even as like reader treats or like things that I would give to readers, I've made like soundtracks that go with the story. And sometimes I make them after the fact, and sometimes I make them before, while I'm writing, and having those very much helps slip into this state of total like.
I do that too. And I like to, sometimes I do it for each of the characters, like the character has their own kind of soundtrack, or sometimes it's
That's
just,
cool.
yeah, like especially if I'm stuck on, because it's usually romance I'm writing. So especially if I'm like stuck on a particular one of them, I'm like, I need to hear your songs because you're not, it's almost like summoning them. I'm like, you're not talking to me.
I base mine on I'll base mine on the setting more than anything. So like there's like ocean sounds, or like do I have any better?
Yeah.
Or like, other what settings are. You can imagine, the street, the cafe, there's like cafe sounds, like, if they're in a cafe, I'll change, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes even layering cafe sounds over whatever I'm listening to, like helps, like that's just enough noisy feedback for my brain to be like, for whatever parts of my brain need to turn off in order to write those, all the switches get flipped. My brain, and I picture like an office, and we've got like this madness up there. That's what I am trying to. Okay. Now we move to another prep session. It is 3:30. What?
I was gonna say it's probably the last one, right?
It's 3:30 now. Yeah, there will be one more prep, and then probably one more tip, and then bye, and then it'll be bye. So you got, make it count. Okay, no Stardew Valley wiki. Okay, I know that's everyone's weakness. It can't just be mine. It must also be everybody's. I can only imagine. Okay. All right, another 20 minutes on the clock. We can do this. The Stardew Valley wiki has no power over us. Ready, set, go. All right, that's the end of that session. That was our last session. Woo! And then how did everybody do? Because I continue to run into the same problem that I've had since the beginning of this story. I love that for me. How? Okay, wow, really, just about exactly only 10 minutes.
Ooh.
Left in the
better
thing.
if we try.
Yeah. Boop. Okay, so my nano tip for this session, and I think it's going to be one that I can also like speed pass if I talk fast enough, is to keep your draft and your outline and your notes, whichever you keep, backed up in multiple places. I have a sense that people on this very chat here have lost work because we failed to back up at some crucial point. There's like a million ways to do it, so there's really no excuse. I'm personally planning to I'm going to write in For the Words, copy and paste to Readsy, and then I will probably also copy and paste to Notion. So I'm going to delete it from For the Words, but that's like 2 different places where it's stored. And then probably at like the quarter mark, the halfway, the 3/4, I'll like upload to Google Drive too, just in case, just to make sure it's extra safe. Like, we do not want anyone to lose anything because, we don't want those tears. Oh, yay for research, Kat. Yay. And 325, that's good. I have my cat here. I opened the door so that she could come in, and so you may have seen her, and she's basking in the sun now.
Hello, Racquel.
Hello, Racquel. Pretty girl. She won't come on camera now, of course, because we're talking to her, but she'll probably walk across while I'm saying something important. Yeah. So does anyone have any recommendations before I speed past to the next slide for where to keep? We've mentioned like some, places to store writing, and there's like the usual ones, Google Drive, Dropbox. Does anyone have any like secret places where they, squirrel a flash drive under their pillow at night?
I do a combination of Google Drive, OneDrive, and email. So like I'm paranoid now because I have lost work several times. It looks like you didn't learn your lesson. Well, in my defense, I did not realize that flash drives, I know this is like kind of some people might be like, Racquel, you idiot, but I did not realize that flash drives go bad. And so I'd been storing my stuff on it, and it just one day did not work out. And then that was all of my entire life was on that flash drive. I paid a lot of money to get it restored, and like they couldn't restore everything. It was the worst time of my life. But also during Nano, one time I was storing it on a flash drive, and my laptop was on my lap. The laptop fell off of my lap and onto the flash drive, thus shattering said flash drive. And that was not fun either. So yeah, I now like email myself things, and I back it up in multiple places like Megan suggested, because I'm like, I don't ever want to lose my work again.
Yeah. The great thing about emailing yourself is you not only get it into the email you sent it in's inbox, but you also get it in your sent folder. So even if, you accidentally delete it or purge it from the other inbox, it's still in your sent folder. Yeah, oh no is right for sure, Nancy. Okay, I'm gonna speed past this tip. Bye. Oh, this is another good one, and one we'll probably skip past too to see all of them. I'm so evil going through all the extra tips. This one's to use brackets or comments, which we have blog posts about in or take your notes about your project in a separate document, leaving yourself notes and reminders about things to change. Because one thing that I've learned is that my brain today is not my brain tomorrow, and the brain last week. All different brains, all different Megans are showing up. And this current Megan does not know what past Megan was thinking. I'm currently running into that problem as we speak, writing this, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure that the motivation for this whole book was different than what I'm putting down on the page. So what am I doing here? I got to figure out what that means. How is it past Megan who's dumb, or is it current Megan who's dumb? We'll never know for sure until we like brainstorm it for like 2 hours. So leaving notes to yourself about like, here's what I was thinking at the time, or like, this scene isn't perfect, or remind yourself, like, even if you don't go back to the like chapter, because like who has time for that during Nano? You know that in chapter 4, you're currently in chapter 6, that in chapter 4 you have to write something to accommodate what you're writing in chapter 6. Don't go back to chapter 4. No one has time to scroll. Just comment right there, see chapter 4, or if you can remember a few key words that you can Control F or Command F to find later and be like, this is about the point where things need to change. Definitely, like, leave your brain on the page if you can, in any way you can. Your future self will thank you. My obsessive note-taking now, very helpful. Is everyone, do we want to speed past another tip? Do we want it? I saw one half-hearted nod. We're going for it. All right, here we go. Another, yes, good thumbs up too. Okay, another one. This is actually my favorite thing. So, and it kind of goes back to the romanticizing part of it. There was something I was going to say about the gamifying. Oh, gamifying also, to really circle back to that tip, is we recently came out, or is it next week's blog post? Never mind, it's next week's blog post. But you can also see it now on the NaNoWriMo resources page. I made 3 word crawls and 1 like major customizable word crawl challenge thing, which if you don't know what word crawls are, they're like little stories you read, and they will prompt you throughout the story to write however many words, or to sprint for however long. Or the 4th one that's kind of weird is like, there's a random card, like playing card generator on there, and depending on the cards you pull from the random generator, you have like one of 30 challenges. You like read what the challenge is, and that the cards you pull change the challenge. So I highly recommend looking at that. But that's really off topic. Back to this current one, which is setting up a mini writing retreat for yourself, which is I know we have moms here. We have probably like a range of people with different responsibilities. I recognize that this is not something that everyone can do. And I own the fact that I am quite privileged in that I can get places relatively easily. And even if I can't get places easily, I have a pretty enough surroundings that if I just go outside, I can make something work. But in any way you can to carve out like a special full day of just one for NaNoWriMo can really like make or break a NaNoWriMo event. Last year, the first year that I won Nano, I would go out for a full day. I was at my parents' house at the time, and I would go out for a full day and write, and people knew like Megan's writing from noon when I leave the house till 10 o'clock when Starbucks closes. Like, we do not talk to her about anything. Or I would also like sit out on the porch, and people knew not to come bother me unless there were meals involved, like with like a pretty view of a lake near my parents' house. Like any way you can to get yourself solely focused on writing and get out of your everyday surroundings, which these are blog posts about that, I recommend. Okay, I'm seeing things in the chat. Thank you so much for the session. It was very helpful. Yay! Oh, I'm so glad that it was helpful for you. I'm glad that you all had a good time, or at least one of you had a good time. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
I'm glad that you mentioned the word crawl, because that was I meant it, like I remembered when you said gamify about it, and then I was like, it went out of my head again. So yeah, everybody check that out because it looks, I honestly was like, I should do this right now. I should do this right now for my current project because it looks like it's so much fun.
It is fun. I promise. It's fun. I made it. It's good. It's fun. I made that, and then like something that's like a personal project one that I made one on like Dorian, which is an app. Like I made like a big one for that. Oh, that's really exciting. I'll maybe share it if I get the courage. I'll maybe share it during NaNoWriMo in the online community. But I like word crawls can be very, very fun. I like invent little stories for myself while I'm on For the Words with the different monsters I battle. So, and obviously they have like little descriptions for quests you can do. Anyway, for sure, adding that story element to it, if you're not feeling jazzed about the story, where you're at in the story at that moment, is very good for getting that like novelty and like newness to the projects. That might be the thing that gets you to write a few more 100 words than you would have otherwise. What's the chat say? Oh, it says, thank you. You're welcome. I'm having a good time. This was a good time. I love all of it. Us putting all of my hits at the very end. I mean, that was, a choice and not a choice, but also fun for me because I get to babble and I love babbling. Ooh, more things. If you can't get out, there are really cool videos on YouTube that are scenery walkthroughs without any voiceover, just environment sounds. Yes, YouTube is a beautiful tool. YouTube is the best tool, I think, probably ever for anything. But there are some that are like timed. We have, if you like this experience of body doubling, where there's like someone working in front of you, even though they're not actually in front of you, we have last year's Preptober Day as a 2-hour soundless, except for like chimes, writing session with like breaks. So it's like Pomodoro style. Mwah, beautiful, perfect. But it's a fun thing to watch. That, I mean, I don't know how much fun it is, but it definitely gets work done. Hopes you get work done.
I do that too, Kat. I have some which Megan does not know about. I have some that because I randomly got it and I fell down a rabbit hole of like creating some for the WA channel. They're not going to be like specific like locations as in like I'm going to a different country or something like that, but I started making some of those like aesthetic types of videos that hopefully writers will write too, because I like to use them for specific things, like they may or may not be Christmas related. So yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is fun, and I figured out a way to do it. I think hopefully it's like half done, so hopefully it comes out the way I want it to. But Canva is awesome. That's all I'll say.
It is. Canva, truly. If you don't use Canva, what are you doing? It's free, people. It's free, and also I really like it. Which is, and I'm hard to please, okay? I seem real nice now, but I'm a cruel, evil person.
No, you're not.
Don't tell them that I'm not. They gotta think. Jennifer says, will there be more sessions like this for Nano? We will be having virtual write-ins. And if you want, I'll babble as much as you want about anything. If you have like during the breaks, we do have these virtual write-ins. They're like an hour to 2 hours long sometimes. Racquel, not next week, but the week after that's blog post, we'll have a full breakdown of all of our physical and virtual write-ins. Yay, awesome. That will be for funsies that you can join. I'm pretty sure they'll all be free. And they're really like a great time. We have a lot of fun with those. I will use Flora, the app Flora, to like grow flowers, and I'll, tell you what flower we grew during our session if we're into that. And we have a lot of good fun on our sessions. So we'll have lots of these. This is our only Preptober day. But we obviously we made this quite long, so there's lots of material. I might make this. Did yeah, we recorded this, so I might make this into another 2-hour writing set. If we have to. I don't know if the footage is usable for that, but maybe.
No, I think we should leave it like how we have it so people can because like some people said they wanted to come but they couldn't, they were busy. So I think it would be kind of cool. Oh, okay.
As like an additional thing. Like I wouldn't take this down. No. But as like an additional thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Or we'll just keep moving.
I was gonna say in the chat, what was in the chat, Kat says she's excited for the in-person tapas at Bola after the winter park sessions. Maybe.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think anybody can go to that, but I'm still like not really eating in restaurants yet, so but y'all have fun. Or I might come and just not eat if that's fine with y'all. What else was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say for the sessions, the virtual sessions at least. Well, all the sessions, all the NaNoWriMo write-in sessions, our goal is always get the butts in the chairs. So you're basically gonna get these kinds of experiences, just probably minus as much like the tips kind of part. Usually in the chats, we'll talk about what everybody accomplished, and then it's usually pretty short, and then we go back into writing. So just know that that's kind of what we're aiming to do with those write-ins. So hopefully you'll have productive sessions. So yeah. All right.
Yay.
Anybody want to say any final things before we take off? Any questions?
Oh, we have a chat.
Or anything?
No, Racquel. No, let me move things. Chat. Okay. Says thank you. Always lovely to see and hear everyone and get all these tips. Feeling motivated. Yeah. I'm so happy. You cannot have these. These are rocks. You don't want them. They're not rocks. Yeah.
Oh, that's we have another cat appearance. We always have pet appearances at our events. It's not an event until we have the pet's appearance. Everybody though feeling pretty good and ready to go. Also in the online community, do feel free, to comment on things and reach out to us if you have anything you want to say or talk about. So we're gonna try to keep posting consistently in there throughout NaNoWriMo. So
yes,
yeah,
we will have.
And then hopefully maybe we can like have a couple of posts too where we like kind of share updates, like how's everybody doing.
Yeah, no, those are gonna be
okay. Sounds good.
I will make sure it's on the list.
Yes.
The right girly is
so funny. I cannot see Racquel, so it looks like you're like doing. Oh, there she is. Okay, she's like off camera, and it sort of once your hand like comes like this, and it looks like you're just doing this.
Yeah, just like for no.
But there she is. Yes.
Sweet baby. Okay, I love her because she's on brand too. She's with the color palette.
Yeah.
Love that.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I think this was so much fun. I love how many of you showed up, and we just felt like having co-writers, right? Like we're in this co-working space, just working together. It was a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you throughout NaNoWriMo.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.